The sky over Nellis Air Force Base is a canvas of cobalt blue, stretched tight and empty. But down low, where the heat shimmers off the cracked earth, the air is thick with tension. For Captain Kate Valkyrie Jensen, it's thicker than usual. She's flying a metal beast affectionately called the Warthog, and right now, it feels like the beast is trying to throw her. Her knuckles are white on the control stick. The A-10, a plane designed in the 70s, is more muscle than Microchip, a flying tank built around a 7-barrel Gatling gun. It's not graceful. It doesn't dance. It's a brawler, and today's training exercise is pushing it, and her, to the absolute limit. Valkyrie, you're dragging the paint off your belly. A voice crackles in her ear. It's Captain Rick Razor Davies, flying his sleek, state-of-the-art F-16 Falcon 2 miles above her, a silver speck in the endless blue. His tone isn't one of concern. It's amusement. This is a surgical strike simulation, not a crop dusting competition. Kate grits her teeth, her eyes scanning the simulated battlefield ahead. The objective is a fortified enemy position, nestled between two rocky mesas. The exercise parameters are brutal. A dense network of simulated surface-to-air missiles, or SAMs, makes a high-altitude approach impossible. The only way in is through a narrow, winding canyon, a path they call the Dragon's Tooth. It's a route designed to kill modern jets. But the A-10 isn't modern. It's timeless, just keeping my head down, Razor, she replies, her voice steady despite the G-forces pressing her into her seat. You enjoy the weather up there. The mockery was nothing new. Since she'd chosen the A-10 platform, she'd been an outsider. The hotshot pilots, the ones destined for command, they flew the fast movers, the F-16s and F-35s. They were the rapier. She was the hammer. To them, she wasn't a true pilot. She was the operator of a flying lawnmower, a relic from a bygone era. Razor, with his perfect smile and condescending advice, was the living embodiment of that disdain. He saw her as a throwback, a novelty. He never saw her as an equal. A new alarm shrieks, a missile lock. The system is simulated, but the cold dreaded inspires is very real. The canyon walls feel like they're closing in. A normal pilot would pull up, pop flares, and accept the simulated kill. It was the logical move. The safe move, but Kate Jensen wasn't just a pilot. She was a student of the machine. Her father, a legendary A-10 pilot himself who was lost in a non-combat accident years ago, had taught her that the plane had a soul. Listen to the ghost in the machine, he used to say. She'll tell you what she needs. And right now, the ghost was whispering something crazy. Instead of pulling up, she pushes the nose down. The Warthog groans in protest. The ground rushes up to meet her, a blur of sagebrush and red rock. For a terrifying second, it looks like she's going to plow straight into the desert floor. What is she doing? Razor's voice is sharp now. The amusement gone, replaced by disbelief. Valkyrie, pull up. That's an exercise failure. You're out. But she isn't out. She's using the terrain itself as a shield. She drops so low that the simulated missile loses its lock, confused by the ground clutter. She's flying below the radar, skimming the canyon floor. The tips of her wings are mere feet from the jagged rock walls. It's a maneuver that isn't in any manual. It's instinct. It's art. It's a conversation between her and the 30,000 pounds of titanium and steel strapped to her back. She rounds the final bend. The target array is dead ahead. She thumbs the weapon select switch, her finger hovering over the red button on her control stick, the one that unleashes the GAU-8 Avenger cannon. The cannon is the heart of the Warthog. When it fires, it sounds less like a gun and more like the sky is being torn in half. She squeezes the trigger. The simulation registers a perfect hit. Total target destruction. A wave of fierce pride washes over her as she pulls the stick back, and the A-10 climbs gracefully. It's job done. She's proven that both she and her plane are more than capable. The debriefing room is cold, the air sterile with the hum of fluorescent lights. Colonel Thompson, a man whose face seems carved from granite, stands before a large screen displaying the mission data. Jensen's approach was unorthodox, Thompson says, his voice a low rumble. He looks at Kate, a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes. It was also the only successful run of the day. Congratulations, Captain. A murmur goes through the room. Kate allows herself a small, internal smile. But it vanishes when Razor speaks up, leaning back in his chair with an easy arrogance. Successful, sir? Or lucky, he says, his voice carrying across the silent room. With all due respect, banking on a 1 in a million stunt isn't a strategy. It's a gamble. The A-10 is a sitting duck. In a real-world scenario, she'd have been a smoking hole in the ground. We need precision and speed, not a tractor with wings. The insult hangs in the air, sharp and foul. It wasn't just a critique of her flying. It was a dismissal of her father's legacy, of the very machine she loved. The other pilots shift uncomfortably, but no one contradicts him. Razor was the golden boy, and in their world, the pecking order was everything. Kate feels a familiar heat rise in her chest. It's the fire that has been burning since she was a little girl in her father's shadow, trying to prove she belonged. She meets Razor's smug gaze, her own eyes like chips of ice. My tractor put more ordnance on target than your entire squadron combined, Captain, she says, her voice quiet but firm. Maybe if you spent less time looking down on us from 30,000 feet, you'd see what the Warthog can actually do. The tension in the room thickens. Colonel Thompson holds up a hand. That's enough. Davies, your point is noted. Jensen, your results speak for themselves. Dismissed. Kate walks out of the room, her back straight, her head held high. But inside, Razor's words echo. A sitting duck. A tractor with wings. The sting of disrespect is more painful than any G-force. She heads to her locker, the anger slowly turning into a cold, hard resolve. She'll show them. She'll show all of them. She pulls out a small, framed photo she keeps tucked away, a picture of her as a 10-year-old, sitting on her dad's shoulders in front of his A-10. He's smiling, a proud, easy grin. She can almost hear his voice, a low, comforting rumble. Never let them tell you what this plane can't do, Katie girl. She's got more heart than all those fancy jets combined. Her own reflection looks back at her from the locker door. Her jaw is set. The doubt others have in her is a weight, but today, she decides to turn that weight into fuel. She's done being underestimated. As she closes her locker, a young airman hurries toward her, holding a tablet. Captain Jensen, Colonel Thompson needs to see you back in the briefing room. Immediately. What's going on? She asks. A sense of unease creeping in. The airman looks grim. New orders. A priority 1 tasking. It's not a simulation. She follows him back to the room she just left. The atmosphere has changed completely. The casual post-exercise vibe is gone, replaced by a chilling seriousness. The screen at the front of the room no longer shows training data. It shows a satellite image of a remote, mountainous region deep in enemy territory. Colonel Thompson turns to face her, his expression grave. Captain, he begins, his voice low and urgent. We have a situation. A special operations team has been compromised. He zooms in on the map, revealing a tight, winding network of canyons that looks terrifyingly familiar. A Navy SEAL team, call sign Outpost, is pinned down here, in a place they're calling the Serpent's Maw. They're taking heavy fire, surrounded, and their extraction window is closing. Fast. Kate's blood runs cold. This isn't a drill. This is real. Thompson's eyes lock onto hers. The fast movers can't get in. The terrain is a death trap for anything trying to punch through its speed. Air cover is impossible, except, perhaps, for a pilot who knows how to fly low and dirty. He pauses, letting the weight of his words sink in. The entire room is silent, all eyes on her. Even Razor, standing in the corner, has lost his smirk. We need a close air support platform that can get into that canyon and stay there, the colonel continues. We need the A-10. He looks directly at Kate, the earlier skepticism in his eyes replaced by a desperate hope. I need to know, Captain. Was that run you pulled today luck, or was it skill? Kate feels the weight of every eye in the room, the weight of the lives hanging in the balance. The fire in her chest roars to life, burning away any trace of doubt. This is it. This is the moment where everything, her training, her father's legacy, her own unbreakable will be put to the test. But as she opens her mouth to answer, a new piece of intelligence flashes on the screen. It's a report on the enemy's capabilities in the area. And what it reveals makes the blood drain from her face. The enemy isn't just a group of insurgents with rifles. They're equipped with a new generation of portable anti-aircraft systems. a system that has never been encountered in the field before, a system whose schematics, according to the intel, were stolen from a US defense contractor just 6 months ago. There are moments that define a soldier's life. Not the parades, not the medals, but the silent, terrifying seconds before stepping into the crucible. For Captain Kate Jensen, this is one of those moments. The question from Colonel Thompson still hangs in the air, but she knows it was never really a question. It was a challenge. And Valkyrie never backs down from a challenge. It was skill, sir, she says, her voice ringing with a confidence she forces herself to feel. I can do it. The Warthog can do it. A flicker of relief crosses the colonel's face. Good. Because you're all they've got. He turns to the tactical officer. Spin up Valkyrie 1. And get her a wingman. The officer nods. Gizmo is already prepping his bird, sir. Leo Gizmo Vance was Kate's opposite in almost every way. He was short, wiry, and saw the world in numbers and data. Where Kate flew with her gut, Gizmo flew with his instruments. But he was a brilliant pilot and fiercely loyal. Knowing he would be watching her six brought a small measure of comfort. But that comfort evaporates when Colonel Thompson adds, and I want Razor in the air, too. Kate's head snaps up. Sir. He'll fly top cover, Thompson explains, his tone leaving no room for argument. He'll stay high, at 30,000 feet, providing real-time intelligence and a fast response option if things go sideways. His F-16 sensor package is the best we have. You'll all be on the same net. You will work together. Is that understood? Razor meets her gaze from across the room. There's no mockery now, just a cold, professional mask. But she can see it in his eyes, the doubt, the certainty that he's being sent to babysit a disaster. Understood, sir, they both say in unison. The walk to the flight line is a blur of controlled chaos. Ground crews swarm over her A-10, loading it with a devastating array of weaponry. Rockets, precision bombs, and belt after belt of 30mm. Ammunition for the GA-U-8 Avenger. The air smells of ozone, jet fuel, and hot asphalt. Every sound, the whine of an auxiliary power unit, the clank of metal on metal, the distant roar of a jet engine, is amplified, sharpened by the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Gizmo meets her at the base of her jet's boarding ladder. You ready for this, Val? He asks, his usual chipper demeanor replaced by a quiet gravity. Ready as I'll ever be, she says, trying to project a calm she doesn't feel. Her mind is racing, replaying the intel report. Stolen US anti-aircraft. Tech. That wasn't just bad luck, it was a tactical nightmare. It meant the enemy wasn't just armed, they were smart. They knew how American pilots thought, how their planes worked. It felt personal. Just watch out for those new SAMs, Gizmo warns, his voice low. The specs are sketchy, but the rumor is they have a multi-spectrum seeker. They can lock onto heat, radar, even the electronic signals from your own jet. They're designed to kill anything we fly. A cold knot tightens in her stomach. That meant her usual tricks, flares to counter heat seekers, chaff to counter radar, might be useless. It was like going into a fight against an opponent who knew every move she was going to make before she did. She climbs into the cockpit. The familiar embrace of the armored titanium bathtub that surrounds her seat doing little to soothe her nerves. She goes through her pre-flight checks, her hands moving with practiced efficiency. The cockpit of the A-10 isn't the sleek glass and touchscreen affair of an F-16. It's a forest of analog dials, chunky switches, and worn metal. It feels solid, dependable. It feels like home. As she powers up the systems, she hears the crackle of the comms. Valkyrie, this is Atlas, a voice says, strained and distorted by static. Good to hear your voice. Lieutenant Commander Mike Atlas Corrigan, the leader of the SEAL team. His voice is raspy, every word an effort. In the background, she can hear the sharp, terrifying crack of automatic gunfire. Atlas, this is Valkyrie. I'm on my way, she says, her professional tone masking the surge of empathy she feels. What's your situation? Situation is FUBAR, he replies, using the grim military acronym for fouled up beyond all recognition. We walked into a well-laid trap. They've got us pinned down in a dry riverbed. 3 sides are sheer canyon walls. The 4th is, well, it's a shooting gallery, and we are the targets. We're down to our last few magazines. How far out are you? ETA 20 minutes, she says. Hang on, Atlas. The cavalry is coming. Just get here, Valkyrie. And watch your tail. These guys have teeth. The transmission cuts out. 20 minutes. In the serene quiet of the stratosphere, 20 minutes is nothing. In a firefight for your life, it's an eternity. The takeoff is a surge of raw power. The twin engines scream, pushing the heavy, bomb-laden aircraft down the runway. She lifts off into the setting sun, the desert landscape below bathed in hues of orange and purple. Gizmo forms up on her right wing, a silent, reassuring presence. Far above them, a silver glint marks Razor's position, a distant, untouchable god in the heavens. The flight to the Serpent's Maw is tense. The three pilots maintain radio silence, the only sound the hum of their own aircraft and the occasional instruction from the AWACS command plane orbiting miles away. As they cross into enemy airspace, the world below transforms from empty desert into a jagged maze of mountains and canyons. It looks like the planet has been cracked open, leaving a scar of shadow and rock. Valkyrie, Razor, you are 5 minutes from the AO, the AWACS controller announces. Approaching the Serpent's Maw. Roger. Razor's voice is crisp and detached. Valkyrie, I have you on my screens. I'm painting the target area. Hostile concentration is significant. Way more than the intel suggested. It's a whole hornet's nest down there. Copy that, Kate replies, her hands tightening on the stick. She can see the entrance to the canyon system now, a dark slash in the earth. It looks like a mouth, waiting to swallow her whole. All right. Val, time to go to work, Gizmo says, his voice a steady presence in her ear. I'll stay up here at the entrance, suppress any threats that pop up on the ridges. You go in and get those boys out. See you on the other side, Gizmo, she says. She banks the A-10, leaving the relative safety of the open sky. The plane dips, and the world becomes a claustrophobic tunnel of rock. The canyon walls rush past, so close she feels she could reach out and touch them. The sun disappears, plunging the cockpit into shadow. She's in the Serpent's Maw. Her systems immediately scream a warning. Multiple radar locks. They were waiting for her. Valkyrie, you've got multiple SAM sites tracking you. Razor's voice is urgent. Brake. Brake now. Negative, Razor, she says through clenched teeth. If I brake, I can't get to the seals. I'm pressing in. She pushes the throttle forward, the engines roaring in protest. She weaves the big plane through the twisting canyon, the G-forces crushing her. A plume of smoke erupts from a ridge to her left. A missile streaks towards her. Instinct takes over. She rolls the plane hard, dispensing a cloud of flares. But the missile doesn't deviate. It ignores the bright, hot decoys completely. Gizmo was right. The multi-spectrum seeker isn't fooled. Her heart hammers against her ribs. This is the new tech. The stolen tech. And it works perfectly. She has only one option. The same one she used in the training exercise. It's a desperate, insane gamble. She shoves the stick forward, diving toward the canyon floor. The missile follows, closing the distance with terrifying speed. The ground proximity alarm wails, a constant, high-pitched scream. Valkyrie, what are you doing? Razor yells over the comms. You're going to crash. But she's not watching her. Altitude. She's watching the missile in her mirrors. Closer, closer. At the last possible second, she yanks the stick back with all her might. The A-10, built to withstand incredible punishment, responds. The nose pitches up violently. The G-forces are immense, driving the air from her lungs. For a moment, the world goes grey. But she holds on. The missile, unable to replicate the brutal maneuver, can't pull up in time. It smashes into the rock face where her plane was just a heartbeat before, detonating in a massive fireball that shakes her entire airframe. She survived. But she's deep in the canyon now, cut off from Gizmo, with enemies on all sides. She levels out, her breath coming in ragged gasps. And that's when she sees them. The SEALs. They're trapped in a shallow bend of the dry riverbed, a handful of men against what looks like a small army. Muzzle flashes light up the growing darkness from the ridges above them. Atlas, this is Valkyrie. I have eyes on you, she says, her voice shaking slightly. I'm coming in. You're a sight for sore eyes, Valkyrie, he gasps. They're closing in on us. We can't hold them much longer. She banks to line up for a gun run, her thumb moving to the trigger. But as her targeting pod zooms in on the enemy positions, she sees something that makes her blood run cold. It's not just their weapons that are advanced. It's their communication gear. They're using sophisticated, encrypted radios, American-made. The kind of equipment issued to special forces. How could a group of insurgents in the middle of nowhere get their hands on that? It doesn't make sense. It feels wrong, like a piece of a puzzle that doesn't fit. A cold suspicion begins to form in the back of her mind. This isn't just an ambush. It's something else. Something more sinister. Before she can process the thought, her threat display lights up again. This time, it's different. No radar lock. No heat signature. It's a new kind of warning, one she's never seen before. A silent, passive lock. A second missile launches from the shadows of the canyon wall, barely visible to the naked eye. It's faster, sleeker than the first. It's not chasing her heat or her radar. It's chasing the electronic signals her plane is emitting. There are no flares for this. No chaff. No last-second dive can save her. The missile is locked onto the very soul of her aircraft. The distance closes in an instant. The impact is a violent, metallic shriek. Her entire world becomes a blur of spinning rock and sky as the Warthog is thrown sideways, one of its engines erupting in flames. Red lights flash across a console, and the cockpit fills with the acrid smell of burning electronics. The stick goes limp in her hands. She's no longer flying. She's falling. The A-10 Warthog is built to be punished. It can fly with one engine, half a wing, and a tail full of holes. But no aircraft is invincible. As Captain Kate Valkyrie Jensen fights for control, her plane is in a death spiral, plummeting toward the rocky floor of the Serpent's Maw. The G-forces are trying to tear her apart, pinning her to her seat as the world spins around her. Valkyrie is hit. She's hit. Gizmo's voice is a panicked shout over the comms. Val, talk to me. Eject. Eject. Above the canyon, Razor watches the disaster unfold on his radar screen, a tiny green blip spiraling into oblivion. She's gone. He says, his voice flat, a statement of fact. Her flight controls are unresponsive. She's not getting out of that. But down in the chaos, Kate isn't listening. The word eject isn't in her vocabulary, not while the SEALs are still on the ground. She's fighting, her muscles straining as she tries to force life back into the dead controls. The fire in her left engine is raging, and the hydraulic systems that move the plane's control surfaces are failing. It's like trying to steer a truck with no power steering. And two flat tires. She remembers something her father told her once, while they were working on an old pickup in their garage. When the power fails, Katie girl, you go back to basics. Manual. It's clumsy, it's heavy, but it'll get you home. The A-10 has a last-ditch system, a relic of its analog design, manual reversion. A complex system of cables and pulleys that allows the pilot to physically muscle the control surfaces into position. It's a mechanical backup for a digital age. Most pilots never have to use it. With a grunt of effort, she throws a large, heavy lever by her seat. The effect is immediate and brutal. The control stick comes alive in her hand, but it's heavy, sluggish, like it's set in concrete. It takes every ounce of her strength to pull back. The plane groans, the metal screaming in protest. The spin slows. It becomes a sickening, lurching fall. Slowly, agonizingly, she manages to level the wings. She's flying again. Barely. The damaged A-10 is a wounded beast, limping through the sky, trailing a thick plume of black smoke. But it's flying. I'm still here, she gasps into the radio, her voice ragged. The relief in Gizmo's reply is palpable. Don't you ever do that to me again, he says. What's your status? Left engine is out. Hydraulics. A shot. I'm on manual reversion, she reports, her arms already burning from the effort of keeping the plane level. But I can still fight. Down below, the SEALs watch in stunned silence as the smoking jet pulls out of its death dive. I don't believe it, Atlas whispers over the comms, his voice filled with awe. Valkyrie, you are the toughest pilot I have ever seen. The praise is a shot of pure adrenaline. But her relief is short-lived. The enemy, seeing that their advanced missile failed to finish the job, redoubles their attack on the SEALs. The volume of fire increases, tracer rounds crisscrossing the darkening canyon floor. They're making a final push. Atlas yells. We are being overrun. Kate knows she has one chance. One pass. Her sophisticated targeting systems were fried in the attack. Her precision bombs are useless without them. All she has are her rockets, her eyes, and the gun and something else. A burning suspicion. Gizmo, Razor, she says, her voice low and urgent. The gear these guys are using, the SAMs, the encrypted comms. It's our own tech. Top of the line. How did it get here? There's a moment of silence. Intel is working on it, Razor replies, his tone dismissive. Your job is to focus on the mission, Valkyrie. Get those men out of there. His voice grates on her. He's hiding something. Or he's willfully blind. She can feel it. This isn't just a random ambush, Razor. It's too perfect. They knew exactly where to set up, exactly what to use. They were prepared for an A-10. They were prepared for me. You're being paranoid, he scoffs. Just fly the plane. But the thought has taken root. A traitor. Someone on the inside fed the enemy this technology, this intelligence. Someone wanted this mission to fail. The thought is so monstrous it's almost unthinkable. But the evidence is right in front of her. Gizmo, she says, switching to a private channel. That stolen SAM system. Run a search. Cross-reference the project name with pilot consultation rosters for the last 2 years. I need to know. Every pilot who advised the engineers on that weapon's capabilities and weaknesses. Val, what are you thinking? Gizmo asks, his voice laced with concern. Just do it, Leo, she pleads. Please. I have a bad feeling about this. Copy. Running it now. It'll take a few minutes. Time she doesn't have. She banks the wounded Warthog, lining up for a rocket attack on the enemy forces swarming the SEAL's position. With her targeting computer down, she has to aim the old-fashioned way, using the Mark I eyeball. It's dangerous, imprecise. One mistake, and she could hit the very men she's trying to save. Atlas, talk to me, she commands. Where's the biggest threat? Everywhere, he yells back. They're coming down the western slope, 50 yards out and closing. She can see them now, dozens of figures moving in the twilight. She takes a deep, steadying breath, the smell of smoke and ozone filling her lungs. She aligns the nose of her plane, her entire world shrinking to the small pane of glass in front of her and the target below. Hold on, outpost, she says softly. Help is on the way. She fires a volley of rockets. They streak from her wing, trailing fire and smoke, and slam into the mountainside. The explosion is deafening, a cascade of fire and rock that scours the slope, sending enemy fighters scrambling. For cover. It buys the SEALs a few precious seconds, but it's not enough. The enemy is too numerous. They regroup, their fire now concentrating on her wounded plane. Bullets ping off her armored cockpit. A cannon round rips through her right wing, and the plane lurches violently. She's a flying target. She's too slow, too damaged. She can't keep this up, and then, something unexpected happens. Valkyrie, I'm coming down, Razor says. Over the main channel. The arrogance is gone from his voice, replaced by a grim resolve. Razor, no, she shouts. Your F-16 is a missile magnet down here. You won't last 30 seconds. I'm not coming in to fight. I'm coming in to draw their fire, he replies. Get ready to make your main gun run. This is your only window. Before she can argue, she sees his F-16 dive toward the canyon. It's a sleek, beautiful Predator, utterly out of place in this dirty, claustrophobic fight. He streaks overhead, popping flares, a brilliant, tempting target. Just as she predicted, the enemy can't resist. 2 SAMs launch from the canyon floor, screaming after the F-16. Razor, with the speed and agility of his advanced jet, executes a flawless defensive break, dodging one missile and destroying the other with a countermeasure. But it's a distraction, not a solution. He's forced to pull up sharply and retreat to the safety of high altitude. His brief, heroic gesture over, but it was enough. He gave her a 5-second window, free from the threat of missiles. She rolls her plane, the heavy controls fighting her every inch of the way. She points the nose of the Warthog at the heart of the enemy position. This is it. The moment the A-10 was built for. Her finger finds the trigger, but just as she's about to fire, Gizmo's voice comes back on her. Private channel, breathless and horrified. Val. I got it. The search you asked for. The consultation roster for the Stolen Sam project. There were a dozen names on the list. But one pilot was the lead consultant. He signed off on the final report, the one detailing the system's vulnerabilities and its strengths. A cold dread washes over Kate, a certainty so absolute it makes her sick. Who was it, Gizmo? She asks, her voice a whisper. There's a pause, and then Gizmo says the name she already knows she's going to hear. It was Davies, Val. Captain Rick Razor Davies. The world seems to stop. Razor. The golden boy. The one who mocked. Her plane, who called it a sitting duck. He knew. He knew exactly what weapons the enemy had because he helped design them. His dive into the canyon wasn't a heroic gesture to save her. It was a calculated move to make sure she was looking. The other way. The pieces click into place with sickening clarity. The perfect ambush. The advanced, stolen tech. The dismissive attitude. It wasn't just arrogance. It was a cover.at that exact moment, as this horrifying revelation dawns on her, a new voice cuts through the static. It's not on the main channel. It's on a secure, encrypted frequency she's never used before. A frequency only a pilot with the highest clearance would have access to. It's Razor. His voice is cold, calm, and utterly chilling. Valkyrie, stand down, he says. That's an order. Disengage and return to base. Let the SEALs go. You have no idea what you're involved in. It's not a suggestion. It's a threat. He isn't just a traitor. He's right here, in her ear, trying to stop her, trying to ensure the men on the ground are silenced forever. She looks at the scene below, the desperate fight for survival, the men she swore to protect. And she looks up, at the empty sky where her enemy is hiding in plain sight. She is trapped between a traitor above and an army below, her plane falling. Apart around her, with the lives of the SEAL team resting on her next move. Betrayal is a poison that seeps into the soul. For Captain Kate Jensen, flying a crippled jet in a canyon of death, the voice of Rick Razor Davies is that poison. His order to stand down, to abandon the SEALs, isn't just an act of treason. It's a personal, venomous attack, a confirmation of every doubt and dismissal he ever threw her way. He never believed in her. And now, he was ordering her to fail. The fire that had been smoldering in her chest for years erupts into a white-hot inferno. The fear, the pain, the exhaustion, it all burns away, leaving behind a core of pure, unyielding resolve. Go to hell, Razor, she snarls into the comms, her voice dripping with contempt. She flips a switch on her console, activating her cockpit voice and data recorder, capturing every word. Colonel, if you're hearing this, Captain Davies has compromised this operation. He is a traitor. A burst of static is her only reply from the command net. Razor must be jamming her long-range communications. He's trying to isolate her, to make her a ghost in the machine that no one can hear. You're making a mistake, Valkyrie. Razor's voice is glacial. You're choosing the wrong side. These men are expendable. The mission is bigger than them. It's bigger than you. There is no mission without honor, she shoots back, her knuckles white on the control stick. She ignores him, her focus narrowing to the battlefield below. Atlas and his men are making their last stand behind a rocky outcrop, their muzzle flashes looking pitifully small against the swarm descending upon them. Time has run out. She makes her decision. She will not run. She will not fail. With a defiant roar, she shoves the throttle to its stop, pushing the one good engine to its breaking point. The wounded A-10 trembles, but it responds, hurtling down the canyon towards the firefight. I warned you, Razor says, and his voice carries a new, sinister edge. I know every weakness in that flying museum of yours. I helped write the manual. As she lines up her attack, a sudden, violent shudder runs through her aircraft. A warning light she's never seen before flashes on her console. Flight control override. The control stick jerks in her hand, trying to force the plane into a hard right bank, directly towards the canyon wall. It's not a malfunction. It's sabotage. Razor is using a hidden electronic backdoor, a vulnerability he must have learned about, or helped create, when he consulted on the A-10's latest software update. He's trying to seize control of her plane, to fly it straight into the rock. He's not just trying to stop her, he's trying to kill her, the ghost in the machine. He taunts, his voice a venomous whisper in her ear. Looks like I'm the ghost now, Kate screams with pure rage and effort, fighting the phantom input. It's an arm wrestling match against her own aircraft. Her muscles scream, her vision tunnels, but she refuses to yield. She knows this plane better than any engineer, better than any trader. She knows its heart. She slams the manual reversion lever again, a desperate, brutal move to physically disconnect the compromised digital controls. The plane lurches, the electronic override is severed, but the maneuver sends her into a terrifyingly unstable wobble. For a heart-stopping moment, her wingtip scrapes against the canyon wall, showering the cockpit in a spray of sparks and rock dust. But she holds it. She wrestles the Warthog back into a semblance of stability, her breath coming in ragged, painful sobs. She has control. For now, and she is filled with a fury so profound it feels like a physical force. He underestimated her. He underestimated her plane. And now, he was going to pay the price. Atlas, she yells into the radio, her voice raw. Go hot. Light them up. I'm coming in right behind you. It's a signal for the SEALs to unleash everything they have left, to make the enemy keep their heads down for just a few more seconds. A final, defiant volley of gunfire erupts from the riverbed. Kate aims the nose of her plane not at a specific target, but at the entire enemy position. She's too low for bombs, too unstable for rockets. She has one weapon left. The Avenger. She squeezes the trigger. The world is torn apart by a sound that has been terrifying soldiers for 50 years. The GU-8 cannon erupts. It's not just a gun, it's a force of nature. A torrent of 30mm, armor-piercing incendiary rounds, each the size of a beer bottle, fires from the nose of the plane at a rate of 70 rounds per second. The shells hit the ground with the force of grenades, turning rock to dust and sand, to glass. The ground erupts in a line of explosions, a chainsaw of destruction that rips through the enemy ranks, their advanced technology and treacherous plans erased in a storm of fire and thunder. She holds the trigger down, tracing a line of death across the enemy's flank, carving a path of escape for the men below. The recoil from the cannon is so powerful it visibly slows the entire aircraft. The air fills with the smell of cordite. It is brutal. It is violent. It is beautiful. She pulls up, the one good engine screaming, clearing the ridge by mere fate. The canyon falls silent behind her. The gunfire has stopped. Valkyrie. Atlas's voice is choked with emotion. You did it. God in heaven, you did it. The enemy is broken. They're in full retreat. A wave of dizzying relief washes over her, but it's immediately replaced by ice-cold dread. The fight isn't over. Razor is still up there, and is not going to let her leave this canyon alive. She has the recording. She is the witness. Gizmo, she says, her voice low. Where is he? 5 miles north of you, circling at 20,000 feet, Gizmo replies. Val, my instruments are picking up a massive energy surge from the canyon floor. It's not a weapon, it's something else. Get out of there. Now. Before she can ask what he means, a strange, low hum fills the air. It seems to vibrate in her bones, in the very metal of her plane. A shimmering, blue-white light begins to emanate from the enemy position she just destroyed. She realizes the horrifying truth. The SEALs weren't the primary target. The captured engineer they were sent to rescue. He must have been forced to complete his work. The ambush was just a way to draw in American forces. The real objective was something else entirely. Light intensifies, and then pulses outward in a silent, invisible wave. It's an electromagnetic pulse. An EMP. Every light in her cockpit dies. Her remaining engine sputters and coughs out. The controls go completely dead. The only sound is the wind whistling over her canopy. She is a glider made of 30,000 pounds of metal. Mayday, mayday, mayday. Gizmo shouts over the comms. His voice distorted. I'm hit. All systems failing. Then, she hears Razor's voice, no longer on the private channel, but screaming in panicked disbelief over the open net. My God, my controls are gone. I've lost everything. I'm falling. The EMP wasn't just a weapon, it was a trap. A trap Razor himself didn't see coming. His high-tech F-16 Falcon, a marvel of modern avionics and fly-by-wire systems, is now nothing more than a very expensive, very fast-falling rock. But the A-10 is different. It's a relic, an antique. Its most critical systems are Mechanical.as. Her plane glides silently through the eerie quiet, Kate shoves the manual reversion lever one last time. The heavy controls groan, but they respond. She can still steer. She can't climb, she can't accelerate, but she is not helpless. The ghost in the machine is still with her. She looks out her canopy. In the distance, she sees the silver glint of Razor's F-16, tumbling end over end as it plummets from the sky. A moment later, a small parachute blossoms below it. He ejected. He's alive. She glides over the ridge and out of the canyon, searching for a place to put her wounded bird down. The desert stretches out before her, a flat, dark expanse perfect for a dead-stick landing. Survival is possible. It feels like it's over. The SEALs are safe. The enemy is broken. The traitor has been unmasked and brought down by his own allies' treachery. But as her eyes scan the ground, she sees two things that make her blood run cold. The first is Razor's parachute, drifting down towards a remote, rocky plateau. The second is a vehicle, a rugged-looking jeep, kicking up a plume of dust as it speeds towards Razor's landing zone. It's not a rescue vehicle. It's from the enemy camp. Razor wasn't just a traitor providing intel. He had an escape plan. His allies weren't just faceless enemies, they were his partners. They were coming to pick him up, and then she sees it on her targeting pod screen, which is flickering back to life on backup battery power. Razor is on the ground, unbuckling his harness. The jeep pulls up. A man gets out, the enemy commander. They're not fighting. They're shaking hands. They're making a deal. Razor wasn't being betrayed by them. He was their asset, and they were his exit strategy. He was going to walk away from all of this, leaving her and the SEALs to be erased from the record. She has no engine, no weapons, other than a cannon with no power to fire it. She is miles from help. Below her, the traitor is about to escape, taking with him the secrets that could cripple American air power for a generation. The danger isn't over. It has just taken on a terrifying new form. There is a unique and chilling silence that comes after the storm. For Captain Kate Jensen, gliding through the dark sky in a dead airplane, that silence is deafening. Below her, a scene of ultimate betrayal is playing out. Razor wasn't just a traitor who sold secrets. He was a partner, ready to escape with the very enemies who had just tried to kill them all. The rage in her heart is so cold and sharp it feels like a shard of ice. He would not get away. Not on her watch. Her plane is a brick, falling gracefully. She has minutes, maybe seconds, of controlled flight left. No engine. No power for the cannon. But as her eyes dart across the dead instrument panel, she sees a single, faint green light. The backup battery for her weapon system is still kicking, providing just enough juice for one last act. She has one Maverick missile left on its rail, a weapon she'd thought unusable. The EMP hadn't fried it, and the battery has just enough power to fire it .1 missile. One shot. She looks at the scene below. Firing directly at Razor is impossible. The rules of engagement are burned into her brain. Even for a traitor, she can't be judge, jury, and executioner. But she isn't aiming for Razor. Her eyes drift to the towering, unstable cliff face directly behind the meeting spot. A jagged, precarious wall of loose rock and shale, weakened by the day's battle. Her father's voice echoes in her mind, a memory from a long-ago lesson. This plane isn't just a weapon, Katie girl. It's a tool. Sometimes the smartest move isn't to hit the target, but to hit what's next to it. It's an insane idea. A shot that would be difficult with a fully functional aircraft, let alone a powerless glider. She has to calculate the angle of her descent, the wind, the missile's trajectory, all in her head, all in a matter of seconds. She puts the nose down, increasing her speed, trading precious altitude for momentum. The wind shrieks louder. The ground rushes up. "Atlas, you there?" she says into the radio, hoping the SEAL's short-range comms are back online. His voice crackles back. Weak but clear. "Valkyrie, what's happening? We see you." Razor is on the ground, 2 miles north of your position. "He's with the enemy HVT," she says, her voice strained with effort as she lines up the shot. "Tell your men to get ready to move. I'm giving you a target." On the ground, Razor looks up. He sees the A-10, a dark, silent shape, descending like a bird of prey. A flicker of confusion crosses his face, then dawning horror as he realizes it's not crashing randomly. It's aiming. He shouts, pointing, but it's too late. Kate gets the lock. A shrill tone fills her headset, The sweet sound of a confirmed target. Not on the men, but on a precise spot on the cliff face, 20 feet above their heads. Fox 2, she whispers, and presses the launch button. The missile detaches from the wing with a clean thump. For a moment, it falls with the plane, then its rocket motor ignites, a brilliant spear of light in the dark. It screams towards its target, a messenger of justice. The impact is not a massive fireball, but a sharp, cracking explosion that acts like a hammer blow to the mountain. For a second, nothing happens. Then, a deep groan echoes through the canyon as the entire cliff face fractures. Rocks begin to rain down, then boulders. An avalanche of stone and earth thunders down the slope, a wave of geologic fury. Razor and the enemy commander are not at the center of the blast, but they are directly in the path of its consequence. The commander is consumed instantly. Razor, scrambling desperately, is thrown by the shockwave, his leg crushed by a falling rock as the landslide buries the jeep, the stolen technology, and all hope of escape. He is alive, but he is trapped. Pinned by the very earth he stood upon, his treachery buried with him, poetic justice, delivered by a tractor with wings. Her final act complete, Kate pulls back on the stick with all her might, trying to flare for the landing. The A-10, its energy spent, hits the desert floor hard. The landing gear, which she managed to deploy with the emergency release, collapses on impact. The plane screeches across the sand and rock in a shower of sparks, metal screaming as it tears itself apart. The armored cockpit, the titanium bathtub, does its job, protecting her as the world tumbles into a violent, chaotic darkness. She wakes to the smell of dust and the gentle touch of a hand on her shoulder. Her head is pounding. She sees the concerned face of a Navy SEAL, then another. They've pulled her from the wreckage. In the distance, the blinking lights of rescue helicopters are descending. She sits up, her body aching. She sees the shattered remains of her warthog, a broken but proud warrior resting in the sand. It saved her. It saved them all. A wave of profound sadness and gratitude washes over her. Then she sees him. Atlas. Lieutenant Commander Corrigan. He's leaning on one of his men, his leg bandaged, but his on his feet. He walks over to her, his face grim but clear. He says nothing. He simply stands before her, raises his hand to his brow, and gives her a slow, deliberate salute. The other SEALs follow his lead. In that one silent gesture, she feels it. Respect. The kind that isn't given, but earned in fire and sacrifice. It's a feeling more satisfying than any medal. The weeks that follow are a blur of debriefings and reports. The story comes out. Razor, driven by greed and a twisted sense of entitlement, had been selling secrets for years. He believed the American military's reliance on high-tech, fly-by-wire jets was a weakness, and he sold the schematics to our enemies to prove his point and to get rich doing it. The ambush in the Serpent's Maw was supposed to be his masterpiece. The destruction of a SEAL team and an obsolete A-10, a final, bloody testament to his philosophy. He never counted on the pilot. He never counted on the Warthog's heart. Kate Jensen becomes a quiet legend. She doesn't seek the spotlight, but the story follows her. The pilots who once mocked her now look at her with a mixture of awe and reverence. The old boys club has been broken, its doors kicked in by a woman and her supposedly obsolete plane. One evening, months later, she stands on the tarmac at Nellis, the setting sun painting the sky in fiery colors. A brand new A-10 sits before her, her name painted just below the canopy, Captain Kate Valkyrie Jensen. It's a new bird. Colonel Thompson walks up beside her, the two of them watching the ground crew finish their work. Heard the brass wanted to move you to the F-35. Program, Thompson says, his voice a low rumble. A reward for your service. Kate smiles, a small, genuine smile. I told them I was happy where I am, sir. Why? He asks, genuinely curious. The A-10 is old. It's slow. It's on its last legs. Kate looks at the rugged, powerful aircraft. She sees the massive cannon, the sturdy wings, the armored cockpit. She sees the heart of a brawler, the soul of a survivor. She sees her father's legacy. She sees her own because, she says, her voice filled with a quiet, unshakable confidence. When the SEALs are pinned down and the chips are on the table, you don't send in a rapier. She pauses, running a hand along the cool metal of the wing. You send in a hammer.